Thank you so much.
Welcome everyone to this PhD support group meeting. This is the Tuesday session of the weekly UKZN Doctoral Academy program. I'm Leni Liebenberg. Thank you everybody for joining us today. To any new participants in the group today, this is a very casual and very supportive space. So we really encourage interaction. So please do feel free and feel comfortable enough to use your reaction icons. Pop any questions in the chat box, raise your hand if you'd like to say something. If you don't feel as comfortable to do that, you're very welcome to send me a direct message, a private message, and I will read your message within the program anonymously. So I guess that's it. That's the ground rules for our sessions today. We promote interaction, and I'm sure there'll be loads of interaction in this particular session because today we have a special session on career preparedness that will be hosted by the UKZN Student Support Services team. That's Christy Greener, Sue Stokes, and Wolganithi Pavel, and a special guest, right, so welcome team. I'm sure I'm not alone in saying how excited I am for this very well-timed session, especially now at the end of the year with new beginnings looming, right? Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Prof. Lenine. I'm going to just prelude our topic a little bit today, and then I'm going to hand over to our guest speaker. So beyond your postgrad. So historically, it was believed that beyond your postgrad studies, one would proceed to an 8 hours per week job or career, or continue with further studies and be a student just a little bit longer. So if we are successfully recruited, the job one that secures at times may be related to our field of study, or we are afforded the opportunity to join a paid placement to enhance our research just a little bit further. So this process of securing a job or research placement may require one to flaunt your own creativity, unique skills, characteristics, pet projects, and community involvement in a CV. So what you are about to engage in post these studies may pave a way forward to not just securing that dream job, but hopefully making a difference in the lives of those around us. So side note, if you have been successful in securing that next job, you may be thinking about how to work your way through your career goals. Today's talk is going to encourage you and offer you further ideas on what's next for you and the other or after hours in the day too. So in today's support group meeting, we are joined by an inspiring guest speaker who will challenge us to make big leaps by taking small steps, to view our smallest efforts as successes and encourage us to pay it forward, to use our time and make a commitment to address social, cultural, or environmental issues. He is here to define a sought-after skill in the world of work, a way of life, to challenge our view of what it means to build a portfolio or resume, while giving back and be rewarded through your community efforts. Our guest is here to encourage us all to consider social entrepreneurship as the next step beyond our postgrad. So let's listen in, let's explore and be encouraged to find solutions to a range of issues within our country. A project may not just define us, but it will give us a chance to be the change we wish to see in the world. Let this be your next step beyond your postgrad. So it is my pleasure to introduce to you our guest speaker, Mkhwebizwe Mashlongu. He is studying towards a Bachelor's of Medicine and Bachelor's of Surgery at UKZN. He holds the following positions. He's an Atlantic Fellow for Health Equity in South Africa, based at Tekano. He's a chairperson for peer educators at UKZN CHASU. He's the National Deputy Chairperson of the Student Entrepreneur COP at Entrepreneurship Development in Higher Education. He's a board member at Nomandla Leadership Academy and the founder of Softy Care Sanitary Pads. Mkhwebizwe is actively working on improving access to sexual reproduction health and rights. His primary interests include ensuring sustainable sanitary dignity, using social entrepreneurship as a tool, improving access to good maternal care, and preventing gynecological ills. He is also interested in exploring sustainable solutions that alleviate problems using African-based solutions. He hopes to reduce health inequity by engaging in education for sexual reproductive health, and supporting the drive to make sanitary towels available to those who need them but cannot afford them. So with my introduction, I would like to wish and welcome Ngobizwe Mashlongo, a wonderful welcome, and it is my pleasure to host him. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Suzanne, for a wonderful introduction. I really appreciate that. Thank you. And I'm honored to be in this space today. I'm not sure if my lighting is good. Okay. Thank you very much. And thank you for having me. I really appreciate to be here. And I'm looking forward to sharing some of the things and also just engaging. I heard this is a very interactive space. When Lenina was actually welcoming us, she also told us we can have some coffee. I forgot to bring a glass of wine. I might have been just having it. But thank you very much for having me. I really hope whatever that we're going to be sharing today is going to be exciting for some of you as it is for me, and also that you do maybe find some sort of orientation on how you can have this approach, and probably even, far better than the approach that may be presented to you today, and how you can actually really see how you can identify some of the things that may be useful to you and maybe customized to you as a person, and see how you can take them and move forward. I am going to share a few things, presentation here. Trust me, it's not boring. I'm a millennial, so I try by all means to make sure that everything that I have is filled with a little bit of fun and excitement, because I'm not a fan of lectures myself. So it's called Social Change Initiative. It's what other people would refer to as a project. So people would refer to this as a project, and we're trying to move away from the term of project. We're trying to say it's a social change initiative. It's a SCI, because with projects, they have a certain limitation, as we know, that you work, you've got a timeline, you've got a start and an ending period. But with a social change initiative, what you're trying to do is that you're trying to implement and incorporate in the space something that is long-term, So even after the experimental phase, if it works, then it continue working just continuously. And you're going to see some of the examples of these things. But in truth is that as South Africa, as a country, we are facing a lot of social challenges and a lot of social issues. And we're trying by all means, to solve these issues in a much more creative way. And as the government is trying to solve them, they also seeing, they finding a lot of criticism around how they're doing it. But the truth is, we are also there, and there are also ways that in which we can positively contribute. Now, it's not just a matter of just you coming in and being the messiah to actually change the world, but also it's about you thinking, how can I make a living, right? How can I be, if I'm an entrepreneurial minded person, how can I incorporate entrepreneurship and also at the same time creating impact, right? If I'm a person who's of an academic mind and I want to pursue research, how can I do research at the same time making sure that I'm contributing positively towards society? Now, I'm not saying that there are some researchers that don't contribute in that manner, but how do you make it meaningful for you, right? How do you really make it exciting and you love it and you actually just move forward with it? And that's what I'm hoping you come out with this. Now, as I've promised, I'm going to start off and kick off the presentation with a video. It's a very short video. It's 2 minutes, if not 3 minutes, and just going to play it now. There we go. Please let me know if you're finding any challenges with audio.
And no sound yet.
Sorry, you're saying there is no sound?
No sound.
No sound. Is there anyone who can help me with technology
Yes,
now?
I can. So you're going to go to your more settings. So when you go to more, there should be an option
I'm
when
seeing.
you screen sharing, you share with audio.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, there we go. Let me try again. Just give me a thumbs up if it goes.
Water.
Thank you.
It's life's most basic need. But there's a water crisis in our world right now. Seriously, a crisis. Nearly 1 billion people live without clean drinking water. It's happening all over the world, especially in developing areas of sub-Saharan Africa, Southeast Asia, and Latin America. It's a water crisis because it starts with water. But water affects everything. Education, health, poverty, and especially women and children. Let's look at a family caught in the water crisis. It's likely they live on less than $1 a day. When they're thirsty, they can't just turn on the faucet for a nice cold glass of water. They don't have a faucet. Instead, the women and children go off to collect water. Many walk up to 3 hours a day to the nearest swamp, pond, or river to gather water that's been sitting out in the open, exposed to all kinds of germs. Time spent gathering water is time they can't spend learning to read, write, earn an income, or take care of their family. Some women in sub-Saharan Africa spend more time collecting water than any other activity they do in the day. And the walk isn't just hard, it's dangerous. The women are alone and burdened with 40 pounds of water. Many get hurt. Sometimes they're even attacked. When they make it home, the little water they've collected isn't clean. Some families know their water is contaminated with germs that cause diarrhea, dehydration, even death. But what choice do they have? Kids, especially babies, are affected most by these germs. About every 19 seconds, a mother loses one of her children to a water-related illness. And each day, almost 1 billion people are living this way. Until they get a little help. The water crisis is solvable. There are solutions. Some are brand new and innovative, like water filtration systems. Some are age-old, like drilled or hand-dug wells. These solutions bring clean water much closer to the people who need it. A safe water project near a village restores hours each day to a person's life. This time, it's opportunity. It's freedom to go to school and get an education, to work or start a business, to raise a family. Africa alone could save 40 billion hours each year. That's the entire annual workforce of France. Clean water means less disease. That's less money spent on medicine, which means more money for books and school uniforms. And if the water project is built near a school, it can increase attendance, especially among young girls. The water crisis is vast, but we can solve it. Just $20 can provide one person with access to a clean water project in their village. And this will mean more than clean water. Because water changes everything. Join us.
Yes, thank you. So this is one of the projects that I love so much. I don't have a direct passion on security and water or climate change, but I love this project. I love it because it comes with a lot of solutions. It's called charitywater.org. You can look them up. So this was actually firstly initiated by a gentleman called Scott Harrison. That's him right here in the middle. Now, this guy was a party animal, right? He would party, he would do everything. He was an events guy, right? And one thing that he would do very well was to just come up with an event, make people pay, come in. He does marketing, promotion campaigns. He was so good at that. So at some point he was traveling and went to the Upper African countries. And when he got there, and he realized that he was thirsty and he was looking for water and he couldn't find clean water, right? So that changed him and that changed his life. And he said, look, and how long are these people traveling? He did a little bit of more research around that, and he saw how people were struggling with just accessibility to water. And for him, that was a shock because it's luxury. Water to him is just luxury, you know? He just goes into the tap, open the tap, and he just drinks water. So this was very interesting because after that, he came up with the concept of first going to the Americans and saying, hey guys, can I have a few friends just donating a little money, and I'll just go back there. I'll build the water pumps, right? And the boreholes. I'll build the boreholes. I'll make sure they're closer to communities, and I'll make sure they're closer to schools, and then the people will be able to access water. And he actually raised a lot of funds out of that, right? And he raised millions of rands. And he said, I want to continue with this. Now, people are able to donate $20 every month. And you can go into his website. And in his website, what you see there is every borehole that is being built, they have a GPS location on that. So you can literally go to Liberia and just go there. When you're there, go to the GPS location, just see where the closest borehole is, and you can just go there and see the results of the work of the donations that you've made. So you can just simply go there and you're able to see that this is what they have done. And this has actually reduced a lot of challenges in these countries, such as the health problems, and has increased the time of the kids going to school. And also, I think one of the reasons from this, I grew up in a rural space. So we were fetching water an hour away, right? Ours was clean water, you know, and we had wheelbarrows. You just put in, you know, 325 liters there, and you push it for about an hour, and then you come back. And for us, that's a normal life. But that 2 hours and that tiredness and that you having to rest, you know, as a child as well. And understanding that the water that you're fetching is for cooking, is for cleaning, is for washing, is for doing everything around the house, also for drinking, you know, and all of that. So it was clean water, but the distance is what I can relate to, right? So, and you see what these, some of these challenges are actually, they are solving. So this is just one of the projects. Now, there are so many other projects that are going on around the world. It could be water, it could be other social issues that are actually happening, right? So I want to give you a snippet. This is a this is a picture from the students from my institution, UKZN. Now, there is a lady next to me right here, right? This is Miss Mjadi. She came up with an initiative, and she's a third year occupational therapy student. And she came up with something that is very fascinating too, right? And she's an entrepreneur. She said, I'm gonna build, because she's an OT student, she's understood the challenges that they have when it comes to prosthetics, right? And she says, every time we order prosthetics, we have to measure them, we have to send everything to the lab, and it takes about 3 months to 6 months for those prosthetics to come back. So she came up with the concept of saying, no, we can build these prosthetics within 7 days, right? So if a patient needs a splint, and we can just build that within 7 days using 3D printing, right? And which is a very exciting phenomenon. And I loved her concept. So I'm trying to bring it home. I'm trying to say it's not just far out there. It's not the Americans. It's not the people outside Africa or any other countries. But it's this just young lady who is an OT a student who actually saw the problem as she was seeing patients, as she's being guided by her seniors. And these are some of the challenges that she identified. And for me, that's how it is. So this is basically a social change initiative approach that you would use. I'm going to come back to it just now. So my passion came from, then became on the reproductive health, which is sexual reproductive health rights. You know, having been exposed, I've worked with an organization in North KZN. It was an NPO that started in 2012. We had done quite a few things about helping the kids in order to apply for university. I can tell you when we started, we did not know what we were doing. We were just all over the place, university applications. Someone comes in and say, I don't have funds, go and raise funds for them. We were just all over and we had no idea on what we were doing. But we were working with a group of boys and a group of girls. And that's when I actually, and also being in the health space and seeing some of the gynecological ills and that were preventable as well. And that's when I really found my passion of saying, this is the space I want to enter, the space of actually making accessibility and proper accessibility for healthcare when it comes to gynecological health and sexual reproductive health rights. And things in my community, especially generally in the African community, that are not spoken about a lot. You know, your rights to termination of pregnancy. Why are women supposed to know that? Your rights to accessibility to contraception. How that in schools and how in our communities, how that has been incorporated, and how even the government itself has failed to deliver in some of these things. Young women who are going to a local clinic, I need contraceptives, and they say we've ran out of the injection, you know? So, and all of these things are a lot of issues that have been a challenge. So these are some of the work that we've done with the organizations in North KZN. We try to raise the part of raising the sanitary pads drive of making sure that there is accessibility. So some of you may know that the government came up with a sanitary dignity framework policy, and that was in 2019. In fact, we've made 2 progresses in our country when it comes to accessibility of sanitary pads. The first one is there was a sanitary dignity framework policy that was implemented, that was published in 2019 by the Department of Women and Youth, Women and People Living with Disability. To say there must be accessibility. It was actually not saying anything about action, but it was more of the government coming out and saying, look, we need, this is a women's right to actually get sanitary pads. And the second one was also in 2019. It was sanitary pads becoming VAT-free. So if you're going to buy sanitary pads, they don't have the 15% that should be charged. If they have that, whoever is selling them to you is not taking that VAT to the government. So, and that was a lot of money going back to the people and actually making sanitary pads much more affordable, right? So we went on with the project, and one of the projects I was excited about was the project of circumcision. I'll tell you how this also tied to my reproductive health, especially particularly for females. And yeah, we were taking mobility. Our project was funded by JPIGO. JPIGO is John Hopkins, is an affiliated with John Hopkins University in the US. It's John Hopkins program of international education in gynecology and obstetrics. Now you ask, how did we convince JPIGO, which is an international, which is a gynecology and obstetrics organization, to find a program for boys who are going to get circumcised? It's because our interest was on the part of really getting reducing the rate of cervical cancer. So if the partner is circumcised, then the cervical cancer rate are actually reduced, the transmission is actually reduced, which became a lot of fun, you know, knowing that we are actually preventing the HIV transmission rate, but also at the same time, we are assisting women and also in fighting the culprit of the HPV, the human papillomavirus, which actually is a culprit in cervical cancer. And that was actually our sport that we were actually interested in. So this brought us to this concept of Softy Care. Now, Softy Care is my baby. It's a social entrepreneurial model. right? And in this social entrepreneurial model, what we're actually doing is that we got a sanitary pads brand. And now we're saying, for every, how can we make, okay, first we looked at some of the sanitary products that are available in the market. The first one is the sanitary pads that are widely acceptable anywhere. A young girl who's just started on a period can use it. An elderly person can use it comfortably, you know, and has not had really so much of issues except the issue of it being not biodegradable. Sanitary pads are not biodegradable. So that's also one of the challenges that are there for sanitary pads. And, but generally, it's the widely accepted product when it comes to sanitary dignity. Now, the second product is the menstrual cup. The menstrual cup, which is a small cup that you insert and sits on your in the mouth of the in the walls of the vagina, and you are able, once it's filled, you're able to take it out, you actually empty it, you rinse it, you insert it again, and then you store it, you boil it, and so on. So now the challenge with the menstrual cup that was there is that one of my, so I like putting my sister or my friends into the spot of saying, I can't use the menstrual cup. Can we just use it at least for 2 of your cycles or 3? And just let me know about the experience, you know. So one of my friends took it, and they were traveling. Now they got into another a petrol station because they were on the N2 Mvoort. They got in there, and then they went out to empty their cup. And then now they wanted to reinsert it, but they wanted to reinsert it. So now they're in a public toilet, and now they have to leave their cubicle to go to where everyone is washing their hands. Now, and it's got blood, and everyone is like gonna be wondering, are you okay? We're seeing blood and all of that. And she wasn't comfortable with leaving it. So that was also one of the challenges when it comes to the menstrual cup. How do you do it publicly? And also another thing, because with the sanitary pad, you just change it there, you know? So in your own cubicle, you've got privacy. And also it was the cultural issues of, can we give it to the young girls who in primary school and have recently started their cycles? Can we give it to the virgins in high school, you know? Even if you're out of high school, you're done, can we give it to them? But that was also one of the challenges we had with the menstrual cup. Tampon, it was a similar issue. Some were just uncomfortable inserting, even if you're not a virgin. They were saying, I'm just uncomfortable with insertion of anything in my body, you know. But for some, it was also an amazing concept, just like the menstrual cup. For some, it was like a very amazing concept, and they loved it. And some have been using menstrual cup for years, right? And the last one was the cloth pad. I like calling it the Naledi pad. Naledi pad because there's a young lady in Gauteng who is Naledi who actually also has these cloth pads. So also again, it was an issue of, yes, you've got the cloth pad, but we're also struggling with the issue of what we were talking about earlier, water, right? In our rural areas, water accessibility. I was just sharing my personal experience when it comes to the accessibility of water. How like, you know, do I take some water to wash it? Am I comfortable to touch my own blood? You know, so there was just those issues around it as well. So, but one that has been widely acceptable, and I think even to date, I'm still looking for another innovation that will be as accepted as the sanitary pads. So that's when we came with the Softy Care, and we said, okay, how can we make the sanitary pads, which are widely accepted, more available for young women and for other girls that equally need it but cannot afford, right? So that took me to Softy Care and said, if we can have a pack of sanitary pads, this is a pack, right? Don't mind me. This is my pack of sanitary pads, right? If we can have a pack of sanitary pads that is being bought, right? And for every pack of sanitary pads, we can donate a pad of sanitary pads, right? So the concept is one pack that is being bought he's a lady who is in need of the sanitary pads. Just walk into Clicks, walk into Spar, buy a sanitary pad pack, and that sale or that purchase you've made will equally generate a pad that will go to a lady who equally needs it but cannot afford, right? Which actually just makes it sanitary pads more available, because sanitary pads are 1.1 billion rands industry in South Africa. And there are enough sanitary pads for every woman in South Africa. It's affordability that is an issue. But if you knew that if you walk into a shop, you find brand A, brand B, brand C, brand D, right? And then there's Softicare. With brand A, if you purchase it, no sort of impact that happens out in the world. Brand B, brand C, and so on, they don't have any impact. But if you purchase Softicare, now when you purchase Softicare automatically generates a donation. So, and that donation goes directly to those girls that equally need it but cannot afford. And that's what Softicare is about, right? And I'll share some of these concepts that we have actually tried to incorporate the one-for-one model in every space, right? And how we've tried to do this is that we are now working on another model. In fact, it's the same model now, but of partnering with other organizations, partnering, for instance, with the hotel. And we're looking for partner organizations, partnering with the hotel and saying, for every booking or every night that is spent at your hotel, can you donate 25 rands to the homeless shelter so that the homeless people don't have to pay the 25 rand, so that the homeless shelter is funded? Can you take a hotel and marry it to a homeless shelter, right? So that for every night that's being paid for in this hotel, every night is covered for in this homeless shelter, right? So can we do it with any other product as well? Can we do it with a bottle of water, right? For every 5 liter that is being bought in a retail shop, 5 liter of water that is being bought in a retail shop, can we have a liter that is donated to the communities that don't have water or struggle to have water, right? So it goes on and on and on. Can we have that sort of model? Can we incorporate it everywhere where we've got social issues, right? Can we incorporate it in a home loan to student funding? You know, can you say if someone comes and take a loan at a bank and then that generates a donation for a student who is actually at a university, you know, for a year worth of fees? So this is possible. This is possible because it's the social entrepreneurial model allow you to do that. They allow you to make profit and they allow you to create social impact at the same time. So it is a very possible model if we are able to do it with Softicare. So this is also one of the models now that is very interesting for me as well, which they call the CCMDD program, right? Now, CCMDD program is a program by the government. Because now I want to also invite you so that you see how you fit in all of this. How can you come in and actually create impact? How can you also be part of it, right? CCMDD program says, we've got clinics everywhere in the province, but the clinics, you get that 100 people who are coming to the clinic. 80 of them are just here to collect medication, and 20 of them are here because they're acutely ill, right? But these ones who are acutely ill will just be distributed all over, and some are at the end of the line. And the nurse is overwhelmed, they have to give out medication and also to treat the acutely ill. So CCMDD program is actually an NHI program where they say, let's have Clicks, let's partner with Clicks so that the people who are taking medication can also collect medication at Clicks, and the government will pay for that, right? They've taken it even a step further, because if it's 80 people collecting medication at Clicks and 20 people are going to the clinic, then the clinic is not burdened by people just collecting medication. Then you have 20 people who are being seen, and those people can be seen in a day effectively, right? Because one doctor is supposed to see about 20 patients in one day, right? When it comes to the full day. But if there are 100 patients, you also have to issue out scripts, you also have to issue out medication. These people are not sick, they just came in to collect medication, right? So if they're coming to collect medication, no follow-up, nothing, they can just collect medication somewhere else, other than the clinic, right? So that we remove the burden from the clinic itself. And that's where the CCMDD program, which is the NHI program, came in. They made it even much more interesting for you and me, for an ordinary person just like you and me. They've said, look, we can place a container in a taxi rank, like how they've done it in Mlazi, close to, just outside Prince Lucian Hospital. They've just placed a container in a taxi rank, and they said, people can just come and fetch medication here. On their date to fetch medication, you go there is no queue, nothing, just go in there, pick up your medication. Because even people are really tired of going to the clinic and holding queues, right? So, but now they've even made more interesting. Now you can collect your medication at your church that is nearby you. You can collect your medication. Even if you wanted to be part of the program, you would simply just partner up with the Department of Health and say, hey, I am so and so, and I have in my space or in my home, I am here the entire day, and I can actually distribute medication on behalf of the local clinic. You know, the Department of Education actually of Health partners up with you. They pay you for every script, for every pickup that is actually being made. So that's also another model to actually think of saying, you can create impact, you can reduce the burden in the healthcare system, but also at the same time, social entrepreneurial model, because you can do this as a private company. You don't have to be a non-profit organization. You can do this as a private company. And it's also some of the programs that the government is making available. So I'm trying to for you to look at all of these global models of water, you know, and of the sanitary pads, of the shoes by Blake Mikoski, and all of these other international models that you've seen so far, the ones for the lunch packs in India, you know, and you look at all of these global ones. Let's take it and let's bring it home, right? That these are some of the things that can be quite effective when you look around you and see what are some of the challenges that can be solved. So this brings me back to this model that I was actually just talking about. When you want to create a social change initiative, you really have to identify the problems in your community, and it must be priority community needs. And here I was referring majority of the time to healthcare. You know, that's a primary basic need. It doesn't have to be about healthcare. It could be about education. It could be about other aspects as well. And once you actually identify this problem, you are able to look at the stakeholders that can actually be involved in all of this. Because I can tell you, when we started our circumcision project, we had no idea what we were doing. We just approached organizations and we started talking about these things. And we're just saying, this is what we want to do, and this is the kind of impact we want to create. Who can be the relevant organizations? And we approach them. And it must be evidence-based. So you look at your research, what are your statistics saying, and all of that. When we chose as an area, we first chose Umkhanya, the district, which was struggling when it comes to the reduction of the cervical cancer, and also when it comes to the HIV reduction. When we moved to Durban, we looked at Ketamana, which is high in statistics of HIV and AIDS infection. And then look at how you actually fund the programs, you scale them. There are a lot of funding platforms online that you can, the crowdfunding platforms as well, that you can look at. If you have a prototype, you can look at how you can actually really get those programs funded. You track, you evaluate. It's the new thing now that's coming to be incorporated in a lot of social change initiatives. It's called monitoring and evaluation. They call it M&E. It's a very effective tool as well. So this brings me to the end of my presentation as well, that these are some of the important skills that you really would need as you actually go on. You must be an initiator. You must be a person who actually stands up and say, this is what I want to do. I'm passionate about this, and this is what I really want to do. And drafting a proposal that goes without saying. Everything you want to do, you need to write it down. You can't have anything without having it written down, because when you engage those stakeholders, they're going to say, send us a proposal document. And when they read it, they want to see that you are well versed about what you're talking about. You know, you have an idea, a clear clue about what you're talking about. So, and drafting of a proposal helps you here in saying there are some of the questions that you don't ask yourself when you think about something. When it's just at your mental level, there are some of the questions you don't ask. But when you're drafting the proposal itself, there are some of the questions that actually come up. And as you actually, these questions come up, you don't have answers for them. And that's when you go out to research for answers, you come back and you put them in your proposal. So that at the end of the day, you've got a solid proposal that is, you know, foolproof. You're able to actually assess. You need your interpersonal skills to engage with the people and the stakeholders. And they usually say identify gap in the market. I want to say identify the market in the gap. The gap is there. It exists, right? It's everywhere. The gaps are everywhere. It's social change. If right now it's to say, please count a lot of challenges that we have, you would count so many in South Africa: education, health, you would talk about infrastructure, you talk about the models of change that we have, and you talk about a lot of things. So the gaps are there. We've got a lot of gaps. Just identify the markets in those gaps, right? And grabbing the bull by the horns. With this, you just need the bulldozer effect. You know, you just cannot be a person who says, I really want to do this, and at the same time, you really they tell you, oh no, we don't do this, and you're like, oh okay, now I have to look at something else. No, you need that bulldozer effect, you know, and of really pushing really hard, even where you know, even where you have an obvious no. For us, with Johns Hopkins, the program of international education, gynecology and obstetrics, for us, that was an obvious no. You go to a feminine organization and you're saying, can you please fund a project for boys? That's an obvious no that we had right there, right? And that was the first projects that we ever piloted. But when we came to them, we started explaining how this circumcision for boys actually contribute to gynecology and obstetrics. That's when we actually got the motivation to say, okay, fine, let's get into the boardroom and let's talk about it. Because it seems like you guys know what you're talking about and you have an ongoing conversation that you can have. So for me, these are very important. The grabbing the bull by its horns, the bulldozer effect that you really just need to have. I really hope that you do see where you actually fit and how you can actually incorporate some of the things and how you can actually contribute positively to your life and to the life of others outside you. Thank you very much.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much, Nkobizwe. I am just going to do a quick summary of things that stood out for me while we wait for some questions and answers. And I just want to see if there's any raised hands. But yeah, do you feel comfortable enough to unmute and share your comments or questions live? I always think, you know, when you ask and you expect to know, but they say yes, imagine, you know, like, so just be motivated and just ask. I love that. So I wrote down, you know, be a Scott, be a Mr. Charlie, be a Nkobizwe, you know, be you beyond this postgraduate degree. So I see we've got 2 raised hands, and I'm super excited to hand over to Prof. Lenine and then Tam as well. Over to you guys.
I'm so excited. This was such a wonderful presentation. Thank you so much. Sorry, did I scream? I just feel so inspired. I mean, look, in my background, I've been in SRH research for my entire career. trying to optimize SRH services. So hearing you speak about this has really just re-inspired me to be more involved. So, I mean, there are a couple of points that I wanted to make based on what you were saying. What really got me was this concept of, how can I make a difference? How can I create impact? How can I do research and contribute positively towards society? I mean, that's why we study, you know. Yes, it's for us, but the point is to help people, to make the world a better place. And to hear you speak about it today just reminded me about how important what I do is and where I am is, and just, you know, to recenter. Life gets so crazy and you forget why you're doing stuff. So just having somebody remind you that you're on the right track is just awesome. I have a little bit of a question and an admission. Many of the concepts that you brought up today it kind of made me want to navigate away from it, you know, feeling powerless, hearing the words boardroom and entrepreneur, and just realizing that I might not have the training or the expertise to do something. So I end up not doing it, you know, thinking that somebody else can rather take on this problem. I'll watch in the background, even though I'm really interested and I want an answer and something needs to change, but I might not be the best person to do it. I'm pretty sure that I'm not the only one in this room who's experienced that, the sense of powerlessness. And I'm just wanting to hear from you, how do we get away from that? I mean, take the bull by the horns, but what if there's a better bull than me? You know, how do I get away from that? Sorry, that's all I wanted to ask of you. I'm so inspired. Thank you. I want to grab the bull by the horns. Sorry, please go ahead. There's a lot going on here.
Thank you very much, Lenin, for the question. I think, Suzanne, we can take, I saw a hand. I'm not sure if it was Tam, but I think someone had a hand as well. Maybe if I can just get those questions.
Awesome. Tam, over to you.
Hi, thank you so much for a very interesting and inspiring presentation. I like that you use not only international models, but local models and the CCMDD and its solution with decanting of patients. In your experience, and it sounds like you have a lot of experience, what are some of the lessons that you've learned when it comes to engagements with stakeholders? Just if you could share a few of those, I'd appreciate that. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much, Sam, for the question. I'm not sure if, I think I can just answer to these ones because I had not seen any other hand, but I can come back to it later. Thank you very much, Lenin. I think I love, one thing that I love with academic institutions, Lenin, is that with research especially, is how that the research can really improve some of the things. I'll tell you how. When we actually initially were looking at the sanitary pads program, we first looking at the biodegradables part of it, right? We went to academic research. Some engineering departments had done some work on the Wits University, and another university in Ghana had worked on how the material can be made from products that are made in South Africa. Now, if you do that research of a product of the sanitary pads, because at the moment, we do have sanitary pads that are manufactured in South Africa. We've got a lot of plants around the country. Even Always has recently established their plant here in Auckland Park. But the material is from China. We don't have local material to produce sanitary pads. And we need research on that. How can we really incorporate research on that part of saying, we are actually using the academics to actually really help the entrepreneurs, right? To do that. And you have the licensing rights for it, right? So when we come to you, we come crawling, you know, begging for those licensing rights, saying, you have found the materials and how they can work and the feasibility of it. Can we take it and commercialize it? They, referring to the commercialization of research. And the part of not being the best person, I think in this part, I also don't want to mislead, a lot of people. There's certain things that you say, you look at and say, this one is not mine. And those ones, right? And there are those ones that you really are internally very passionate about, but you just lack the skills to actually do some of those things. And that does not increase your confidence, right? And in most cases, what really reduces your confidence is the part of I don't know, right? And I think doing more research in that particular space and familiarizing yourself and accumulating more knowledge in that space increases your confidence to say, I'm the person. And the one that I was referring to of the drafting of proposal, I think it helps very much, because when you're doing that part, and I've seen this with some of the proposals that I've drafted, is that I would start a proposal on something that I don't know. As I said, with circumcision, had no idea. I'm doing MDCHB now, and next year I'll be going on to my final year, but I've never really, in my entire, training in medical school, have done any sort of circumcision. Because when I walked into that room and that boardroom, the first thing they asked was, what type of circumcision method that you guys use? And apparently there are 4, So now I had to start thinking that how do I really tackle that question? Because it's a question that I had not looked at, And but in majority of the things when they ask about the model, how are you planning to have more numbers? How are you planning to assist us in accumulating and meeting targets and all of those things? It was a much more easier one because I'd done a lot of research around Kanyagut and all of those things. So I think the part of actually doing your research and drafting that proposal, even if it's a rough idea in your mind, draft that proposal, There are questions there. And those questions, when you answer them, I think it does increase your confidence. I hope I really am answering this all right. And then I'm going to go into the stakeholder, the question Tim was asking about the stakeholder engagement, really. Some of these, the stakeholders, in South Africa, the number one challenge when it comes to stakeholder engagement is corruption, right? That is, for me, the number one challenge. And the second challenge would be, if it's government, you will experience a lot of incompetencies, right? And but also, again, you just have to find the right people. Now, this is my approach, Tam. Every time, that I would actually suggest, every time you're going to be engaging an organization, firstly, use a cell phone and emails. Don't visit them. Don't visit their offices, right? And I'll tell you why. In my case, I'm a young. And every time when I appear, the first thing they're thinking, this is a young man. This guy is young. But my voice is deep. So when I make a phone call, I'm saying, sorry, who's the CEO or the director of the organization? They give me a name. I'll phone again tomorrow and say, hey, I'm looking for so and so. They don't know who I am. The voice is deep, And that engagement of emails and of telephone, sometimes it gets you to a point where they don't know who they're dealing with. They don't know how small you are. They don't know how big you are from the space you're coming from. They can't really tell. They can't gauge you from just the looks because they're just speaking with you telephonically. And that helps because with the department, once they've seen you, they really, I don't know what happens. Once they've physically met you, you could sometimes wish you could only physically meet them when you're going to close the deal and just signing the contract, So, but I think it does help to engage stakeholders telephonically. And when you engage them, don't engage them from low level up, engage them from top down approach. So when you go into the relevant person, even if you get the relevant person, you're speaking to Suzanne, and Suzanne is the one who's been dealing with that department, but the CEO is Lenin, right? So when you speak to Suzanne, saying, hey, Suzanne, how are you? Yeah, I was speaking with Lenin, she told me you're the relevant person to actually assist me with 1, 2, 3, and 4. And at that point in time, Suzanne starts to tremble because you've mentioned that you've spoken to her superiors. And that's, I don't know, we have to use all of these sort of strategies because there is a lot of incompetences, especially in the public sector and in the private sector. And it's also just a little bit similar. But I think it's very important to engage the higher level person first, because those people are actually the ones who are carrying the mandate. The ones on the ground, they're delivering it, but the ones who are carrying the mandate are the ones who are actually responding and they're coming back to deliver. It's their responsibility to deliver on numbers or whatever that they need to deliver on. But at the end of the day, you need to actually engage it from top down, right? And it's just, I usually make reference to it and say it's like oil going down through Aaron's chin, right? So you pour water here and it goes down, right? Or the oil here and it goes down. So that is the approach. Top down, speak to the CEO that refers to the relevant person, go to the relevant person, mention like the CEO is your friend because they don't know you anyways, and engage them telephonically and via email until it's the time to close the deal. And then just be careful, there's just a lot of corruption. How you work around it is really different, but there is a lot of corruption around envelopes, and try to move away from that because you need to maintain the integrity of ethical practice.
Thank you so much for that. Yes. Tan says thank you. So we've got another question, and I don't know if you have this information, but I think we are definitely going to explore this a lot more in the future. What resources are available to assist one with drafting the proposal and in the environmental space?
So what's the resources?
Drafting a proposal in the environmental space. Oh, sorry, in the entrepreneurial space, sorry. I can repeat that.
Okay, so I think a standard. Yes, so firstly, I think you just need to think of, to the person asking the question, think of a proposal as a standard, right? As a standard questionnaire. Entrepreneurs have a standard business, what do they call it? The business plan, right? So, and it asks questions. What do you write on the executive summary? What is supposed to show on your value proposition, right? What is supposed to show on your financials? What is supposed to show in different aspects? And there are questions there, right? And when you're drafting the proposal, I think you need to find a structure that firstly works for you, and then ask a lot of questions. Don't be easy on yourself and outsource it, right? Don't just get it yourself. Whether you're getting it from the institution, the university, or you're getting it from online as well, and you download it from there. And there is one standard. Just have one standard on how you draft proposals, because you're not going to draft one proposal. I can assure you that now. You're not going to draft two, right? And if you're really serious, you're not going to draft three. You're going to draft a number of proposals going forward. You're going to draft a proposal whose funding you don't even know where you're going to get from, even now. So you're going to be conducting research for about 3 months just on something that's on a subject that you want. So you need to have a standard of a proposal. So that when you move on to the environmental space and you move on to different departments and different faculties, in that space, then you are able to use this standard way of the proposal. What is different is the resources where you find the answers for the proposal. So in that space, then you can engage the experts or the organizations or the websites that will actually have the relevant information. But the structure for the proposal, I would suggest that you have just one structure that you follow that has extensive and detailed questions that actually ask. And then just when it comes to resources and compiling your proposal, it's different resources that you outsource.
Thank you so much. I really think that is the perfect way to end. And I'll hand over to Prof. Lenine in a moment. I want to just encourage everyone to shift that belief that I am the person to lead this change. Yeah,
I
thank you so much.
absolutely agree, and I echo that as well. This has been such a fantastic, very insightful presentation. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing with us today. Thank you to all the participants for being involved in this and for learning so much. Thank you so much for your participation. Right, what do we have next week? I think we have another discussion regarding career preparedness. We will look forward to seeing you all here next week and your friends. For anybody who has missed this, or if you know somebody who has missed this, excuse me, please direct them to the UKZN YouTube website, because this is one to remember. Thank you so much again for being part of this meeting. Take care, everyone.